want to do a podcast? We make a darn good team. It always goes without a hitch. Let's head to Twitch and go start up the stream. Do you want to do a podcast? It's the Nerd Glasses Podcast. Let's start now. Hi everyone and welcome to the Nerd Glasses Podcast. Come?
Alright, I'll do my own bits myself.
Oh wait, no silence.
We're doing it. Get off the road.
Hey, Dave.
Yes, Boater.
Why is Stephen Curry so good at drawing headshots on Imperial stormtroopers?
Why is Stephen Curry so good at drawing headshots on Imperial stormtroopers?
Because he's got a lot of experience dropping buckets.
Doesn't matter. It's a. You know what though? They probably wouldn't call him Steph Curry in the Star Wars universe. They would give him a different name. Bravo, Boater! A sports reference.
Yeah, an incorrectly pronounced sports reference apparently. So, whatever,
I love that
we'll
it's.
take it.
By the way, I love that of the three of us, it's our producer that took issue with the mispronunciation, and nobody else.
Steve, I apologize. I would apologize to nobody else, but Steve is the glue that keeps this show running.
He really, really is.
Anyway, everyone, welcome to the Nerd Glasses Podcast, the show that is kept running by Steve. Despite all the best efforts of the two that are on camera. I'm Boater.
I'm Dave Man.
And we've got a lot of things to go through today, as always. Dave is going to get things set for the snack or something that we shall try on stream. As he does that, I'm going to talk about something that is Twitch ban adjacent. This isn't someone who was banned from Twitch. However, it is someone who got a lot of followers and notoriety doing gambling streams. Now, you remember that Twitch banned a lot of like slots, gambling, a lot of stuff like that, effective October 18th. Trainwrecks TV, who is the streamer that a streamer that got a lot of recognition streaming gambling stuff, announced on Twitter in all caps, Twitch has been boring. December 1st, gambling streams return.
Oh, no.
So I'm wondering if A, he's going to go back to Twitch, as we say, assume that he's not going to catch anything bad for it, and then test that assumption at his earliest convenience. B, stream that to another platform altogether, and just say, well, Facebook hasn't banned me from doing that. YouTube hasn't banned me from doing that. Mixer, oh, whoops, never mind. Facebook hasn't. Or C, all of the above. Start on Twitch. Oh no, I got banned from Twitch. Better bring it to YouTube and use the fact that I got banned to get even more people to watch.
Which works.
Yeah, the ban for clout pipeline is 100% real. So, yeah. That's a ban about to happen, perhaps. Keep your eye on that, and maybe I'll be able to follow up on that next week if he decides to go that route.
So I had a Twitch ban handed to me, and or excuse me, more specifically, a TikTok ban handed to me. A Twitch streamer, friend of Insane Games TV's and future Twitch partner, Hero Carry, last night had her account banned on TikTok. She is told her appeal was denied, and why she was banned is yet to be known to the parties. However, the last couple streams she has done are a Pokemon Nuzlocke,
Okay.
and Just Dance, where Kelly wears clothing that are people can adjust with using green screen and functions and things like that. And there has been issues with that. There's been a lot of fucking creepers,
I'm
but
sure,
nothing.
yeah.
And so, Tickety Talks, what's going on? Because don't do that, okay?
Yep.
We will spam your appeals process. We want our hero carry back.
So that's who we've got for people being banned from Twitch or Twitch adjacent kind of stuff. People who, in the case of Hero Carry, had a bad time in the last 7 days with that. Dave, what do we have to look forward to in the next 7 days coming up?
Well, I've got.
Actually, I'm sorry. Before you do,
Yes.
what are people choosing from in chat for us to try out?
Yes. Our menu is awfully reminiscent of last week because we won the mystery box. So this week, you have the options of voting with your channel points to then, if you win, get those channel points back. Plus, we've got Red Bean Mochi, the mystery box, and Snowball Circus Citrus Cookies. Not circus, citrus. Snowball Citrus Cookies.
I saw a TikTok a couple days ago, someone that was like, sometimes you just need to ask questions, even if you don't think you want to know the answer, if you're scared of the answer. Guys, when you have pineapple or lemons or limes, does your mouth get all tingly and numb, or am I just allergic to citrus? And everyone's like, oh, you're good news and bad news. Yes, I get that, but it's because I'm allergic. It's like, oh no. No, I am not allergic to citrus, so I will let you. I don't have a food allergy to the best of my knowledge. If I did, I would let you know so that you don't poison me on air. That would get us a ban, I hope.
Steve and I learned that Steve has a reaction to jalapenos.
Jalapeno.
And I have a reaction to cilantro, and yet both of us eat at Taco Bell, Moe's, and at
Chipotle.
Chipotle.
I noticed
pretty
that
often.
Chipotle is the one that goes the heaviest on cilantro, and not because I notice it, but because what do you get when you have a reaction to cilantro? What do you mean by that?
It's the guac. Oh, just kind of little nummy, little throat swelly, just a smidgety
Interesting.
bit.
Interesting. I know that Demon Dragon, and I think maybe 10% of people out there have this gene where cilantro tastes like dish soap.
No, it doesn't taste like dish soap, but it does taste an awful lot like.
Like before we realized that that's what's doing it, we would go and get pho, and she would be like, tastes like they didn't rinse out this bowl after they washed it.
Oh no!
And sure enough, it's once we started knowing to order without cilantro, it's been totally fine.
Very nice. Where do you get pho in this area?
Phyla Fusion is pretty good.
Okay. All right.
I know, it's like a golden holy grail to try to find.
Demon Dragon cilantro tastes like soap to me.
Yeah.
That sucks. You know what doesn't suck? The next 7 days of games coming out.
Yeah!
It's finally, we're at a point and a juncture.
Holiday release window. Holiday release window.
And this is an extra large holiday release window because all the games that have been getting delayed by COVID-19 are truly now dumping out into the market and competing with each other. It also helps that there's not a lot of too many AAA titles over here eating up all the market. But in the next 7 days, coming out on the 30th, we have a return to a franchise we have talked about on this program. We have many friends, and it will be streamed on the weekend Wednesday as sponsored by Anticlaus Prime because he bought me my copy of the game. Warhammer 40k Darktide.
Yeah.
In the long, distant future, there is only war, and this game is so much fun from top to bottom. So you start with the fact that it's written by Warhammer, Marvel, and a couple other franchise writer, Dan Abnett. I don't know if you ever ran across him.
Yes, he's someone that I've seen as an author of some of the Warhammer novels when I was working at North Star.
Yes. Fantastic world builder, great character development, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a very big fan of the Gaunt's Ghosts franchise, one of his biggest. But I am saying it because, god damn, that book series is good. You should get on it. It's getting re-released for about the billionth time. It's well worth the read, even if you're not necessarily into 40k. But this one, written by Dan Abnett, you have 4 different classes you're going to choose to play as. Veteran, name explains kind of what the class does. You're a hardened soldier. You
Yep.
get extra shots, this and that and the other. And Ogren, if you've seen in these trailers, the big-ass dude, that's him. You use specialized weapons. You use specialized equipment. You're a little slower on the uptake, but that's okay, because you can bench an entire starship on your own. Um,
Who needs int when you have a plus 15 mod in strength?
Yep. And then there's the Psyker, the Warhammer 40k usage of magic users and things
Okay.
like that. In my personal opinion, not to be trusted, but that's because I've lost a lot of 40k games because of Psykers. So there. And the last one, and the class of the character I made, the Zealot, who is basically just a big-mouthed guy. Can't imagine why I gravitated towards that class, but here we are. These 4 classes, you comprise up teams. You can have more than one same class in a group of 4, but it's a maximum of 4 per team.
Okay.
You create a character not just by class, but you customize their appearance, including their gender, hair customizations, tattoos, all those things.
Nice.
And then, and I will be redoing this on the stream, you get into the meat and bones and you make your character's backstory. Why are you where you are? What did you do? Where did you come from? And where do you go? Cotton Eye Joe. You can name your character Cotton Eye Joe.
Thank you.
You
I was gonna.
You can name your character Cotton Eye Joe. I don't recommend it. I already saw a couple of them, but I really like it because it's just so much world building. So this game was originally going to be coming out in 2021. COVID-19 got delayed, and then they did the delay, the got to do it right delay.
Yep.
I'm just going to generalize it as, and it said for November. It's been in early access this past 2 weeks, so I certainly haven't been chipping away at it and playing anything, and also reporting every single bug that I possibly see, because, by God. But to give you an idea, you are a force of the Imperial Inquisition sent to a planet to find out if there is a chaos infiltration. Will you find it? Will you succeed? Will you have your redemption? You'll have to come join us on the Weekend Wednesday to find out a little more. And also, pick up this game for yourself. It's coming out on Windows, and it's coming out for the Xbox One and the Series X. They don't have a concrete release date, but they are expecting within a month of the release date.
For PlayStation?
For
Xbox.
for
Okay.
Windows, yes. PlayStation is not getting this one,
Aw.
apparently. So I'll play it on PC, and I will have a great time with it.
Yep.
And I'll just plebe it and plug in my Duke
Yep,
controller.
That's what the new rig is for.
So, Warhammer 40k Dark Tide coming out on the 30th for Windows. Check that out, and not just because Anti-Klaus Prime wants you to. This next game has already been out for a couple consoles. It's coming out on the 1st for the Nintendo Switch. It is an oldie but a goodie, Inscription.
Ooh.
This
Pick it up,
game
pick it up,
trailer
get it.
brought to you in Nerd Division. I'll just use a lot of buzzwords for it, because if you haven't seen this game yet, I don't want to give anything away. Roguelike deck builder. The storyline of it is found footage blogger, The Lucky Carter. And to give you an idea, it has some quick time events, some strategy ideas, some
I
survival
watched
horror elements.
Markiplier play through it, and it's hard to talk about the game without spoiling anything. I will say that
Yes.
it is surprising. It is deep. I like the found footage meta story that's around it. It is a very cool game. And if this kind of Magic the Gathering style card game is at all interesting to you, and you want to see a card game that relies on needing to be used for a video game, where like the cards can have variable values and stuff like that, as far as those pure mechanics, then absolutely check this out. It is fantastic. It is atmospheric in so many ways.
What a lot of fun, and now available on your Nintendo Switch. They also create a patch where in March there is a game mode that is just the deck builder game,
Nice.
as opposed to
Because this is a storyline. As you see here, like there's been bits when the person across the table is like reaching for you and stuff like that. Like it is a storyline. Like there's some escape room elements that end up get discovering as you go that progress something that, again, I don't want to spoil anything because it ends up being pretty plot heavy, but it's cool that there is going to be a just the deck of cards style thing coming out soon too.
It's a lot of fun. Highly recommend. And the third game, last but certainly not least, also coming out on the 1st for the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4. It's Spirit Hunter Deathmark 2. Now, I know what you're thinking. What sort of game is this? It's the third installment of the horror visual novel adventure game Spirit Hunter. Do you have to play the previous 2 games? No, because the main character from the first game returns in an adventure unlike, well, like many other horror novels, but this one in particular, every 10 years, a gruesome event befalls students at this particular academy, and you are hired by the headmaster of the school to finally figure it out. The police are too scared to take it on. Spiritual hunters can't figure out what it is. Will you, in your adventures, figure it out? The way this game differentiates itself is you have teams of people you can put together. So your protagonist and the principal. You can have a spirit hunter and a student, all these things. And which characters you bring to certain areas create for different interactions, build different storyline elements, and you are in control of the ebb and the flow of the story. Will you make it out? Will the horrible secret be revealed? Will justice finally be served? You'll have to find out for yourself. And this is one of those games that the more I looked at it, the more I was like, man,
Super
if
intriguing.
that goes on sale. Because Spirit Hunter was a game that came out in 2017, got a Switch port, and I was like, man, I want this. But it was never on sale, and by the time the physical copies were on sale, they weren't anywhere to be found. And I was like, ooh,
Gotcha.
I want it. And I highly recommend you check it out too.
I have a game to add as well. One that I've been kind of keeping an eye on because it looks just so intriguing visually. On Friday, November 2nd, for the Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, and for Microsoft Windows, is Need for Speed Unbound. I believe we've got a trailer for this. It is the first Need for Speed game by Criterion in quite a while. The studio that originally would have gotten this Need for Speed installment ended up getting shut down by EA, so it went back to Criterion. And it is very heavily focused on both anime and graffiti for the art style. Like like seeing the wings there from the car jumping and stuff like that. It's something that I looked in an interview today with one of the developers, and they were like, we just like kind of tried it out on a whim because we already had these assets, and it worked really well to telegraph, when you're boosting, when you're in the sweet spot for drafting, when you've hit top speed, stuff like that. And it's been a long time since I played a Need for Speed game. Like I've tried some Need for Speed games in the past decade or so. I've never completed any of them, never really played any of them for more than one session. The only one that I've played extensively was Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. And I don't know that this is necessarily going to go back to that kind of thing, but the art style alone, they've got physics and stuff kind of dialed in for Need for Speed on this point, but they're wanting to go back to the underground racing style thing. And just the art style looks intriguing enough that I'm very, very interested in checking it out. So if you subscribe to, I think it's called EA Play, then you are already able to play this game starting today. For everybody else, it is out Friday the 2nd.
This looks very good.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I have it on my Christmas list. So
Game Pass, get it owner, get 10 hours free.
Interesting.
You don't get the game though?
In other words, so
Yeah, you get a 10-hour demo.
So is that like you getting that now, and then you would be able to play the rest of it on the 2nd? Okay. So
Oh, I
you-
thought it was like
so
it was like
you
you,
have-
get a
you have 10
10-hour
hours-
demo.
so if you have Game Pass, you have 10 hours of advanced play starting today until the second when it unlocks the rest. Okay.
I was about to get on my PlayStation high horse and be like, "What sort of game access is this that you're not even going to give you full access unfettered to the game?" All right, if it's early access, 10 hours, that's fair, and that's actually a really good deal. Further proving Game Pass value. Get it? I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. We cannot emphasize that enough.
If I
Es-
wasn't so behind on my current library, I would. But like, if I got Game Pass, I would die from the heat of 1,000 death glares from my unplayed library, being like, "I'm sorry, what? Am I a joke to you? No, you're not. Steam Marines, just wait. I'll get to you eventually. I swear you don't just exist there because of a humble bundle. Nothing.
I swear I wanted to buy you, and you weren't just some sort of cheap joke.
Okay, so Dave, what have you been watching recently? What have you been into?
Well, this past weekend was Black Friday, and
Yep.
my God,
It was the consumer's holiday weekend.
did the Insane Games crew here crush it? It was so much fun to work. It was my first Friday on shift in a while, so I worked that to close, and we absolutely killed it here in the Wilton Mall. Big ups to Steve and Mike and Dan. We all held it down and had a great time. Let's see, what have I been playing? Oh, yes, that's right. On Saturday night, I got to watch Steve and CJ continue to crush through their campaign in F1 22, and had a really great time watching that, especially because Steve is a very good driver. Unfortunately, the word crush was operant in there because my God, if I was the owner of that team, Steve's win total per cars totaled, like, I'd be sitting there going, "Good Christ, man! Just one practice car! Leave us the scraps!" But it's really fun to watch the two of them play this, and damn, it's good. Played some more V Rising with Love Alec on Monday. Had some fantastic times with that. We finally are at a level where we added a fourth player where we are just now waiting to go back to bosses and be like, "So you want to spam kill us, do ya?" And just like beat up on them. It feels really good. I've really been enjoying watching Rafe Wolf and Sustaina and Emily Camisa stream World of Warcraft lately. I say this on all three of their streams. I am way too incredibly stupid for World of Warcraft, but it is really, really cool to watch those three in particular play it. And I get to ask questions and be like, "What's that? What
Yeah.
does this mean?" And I've given an answer, which is killer. Because other World of Warcraft streamers, not so nice, not so receptive to Dave, and also didn't get a follow because of that. So there. And then
we will point out that in this particular case, it's not that Dave is Dave. It's just that some other streamers aren't as good about responding to chat in general. It's not like they're talking to chat and then they see Dave come up and they just go, "Next question."
Yep. I destroyed my pole-winning car in practice accidentally. Yes, accidentally.
So I
Monster turn coming up, and just suddenly you hear like, "Boop, that one's gonna hurt." Like,
I know that we've talked about it before, but it is something that I appreciate when streamers do keep an eye on chat. We've talked about it as a skill that we've been able to develop during our years of streaming. So
you tried not doing that. Expert advice from Amp.
welcome, Amp. Your expert advice is always appreciated here.
But in the other half of my actual gaming, Overwatch 2, the season ends this week. Steve, is that right? It ends this season ends the 6th, and the next season
Okay.
starts. And I'm less than 50 levels away from level 200, which is the highest you can go.
Okay.
So I certainly haven't just been getting on, doing my dailies, and then logging off, or anything like that. Battle Pass life. And then in Pokemon, oh my God, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Oh my God. Ugh!
This
The
sounds positive.
the plot, the Pokemans, the fact that you can picnic with them, and that wasn't even an advertised feature. It's adorable. And
boo-boo.
if you watch one of the clips, one of my Pokemon was a little asshole about it because you're able to picnic with him, and then you're like, I'll let this little ball go, and they can play with it. And my little Pokemon kind of looked at me and was like, and then kicked the damn thing in my face twice.
Oh, do you want me to pick this up and bring it back to you? How about we skip the middleman?
Boom. Like it's so much fun, and as that game builds, I won't lie, the main arc of get the badges, win the things, become champion, it's your prototypical Pokemon. Then there's this whole, it's not Team Rocket, but it's the Team Rocket stand-in for the game called Team Star, and there is so much heavy plot coming out of that, it isn't even funny. And then there's the legendary Pokemon catching, which in this game is not just, hey, look, big Pokemon, let's go get it, because it's big and there.
And you just got an Ultra Ball, so have fun.
Yep, it's this weaving story, and there's... Fuck it, I'm going to spoil it. There's a sick puppy that you're helping by doing it, and by God... Like,
First off, we need a spoiler page. Second off,
I know! When they reveal it to you, a couple missions in, I literally was like, why have I not just been doing this mission? There is a sick friend in need of help. Like...
Let's see. I played some Played Up last night. There's still a kind of Thanksgiving mode going on right now. Every 3 days in the game, it increases the group size by 1, and also you have to pick another dish to serve. So at the end, instead of like a single dish with maybe a variant or 2 and maybe an appetizer that you serve to a table of like 2, maybe 4 if you choose the right cards, we were bringing out like 3-course meals with a whole bunch of different options out to a table of like 7. It was actually really funny. At one point, we had a table that could seat 8, and we had a group of 6 come in. And they sat 3 on one side and 3 on the other side with a gap in the middle. And we're like, thank you for bringing your Thanksgiving family here. That clearly this is 2 sides of the family that just don't get along. I would ask you to please keep it civil while in here. Oh, of course. Half of you are ordering steaks on that side of the table. This half is ordering stir fry. Okay. I see you. Just keep it clean. All right. You made it through. Have fun. Don't make a mess of my parking lot.
Go fight on someone else's time.
And we actually did really well. We got to day 15 and then to overtime 3 before it was like, here's another dish. And we're like, it's 10 in the evening. Let's just call it here. And as far as watching goes, Andor finished on Wednesday.
Oh?
It's so good! That show is so good!
I'm really glad to
Andor
hear that,
is
to see
probably... So it started slow. And if you watch the first episode or 2 and it didn't hold you, I understand that. But again, I stand by the watch 3 episodes before passing judgment on any show. Andor is possibly the best Star Wars TV show that we have gotten to date. And I'm including that when matched up against like Mandalorian and stuff. Mandalorian is a really good like kind of Western adventure kind of thing. Hold on. That's the root beer coming back up. A really good like Western adventure kind of thing. It's got some great personal storylines. It's got the found family thing that you get in every Star Wars property these days. Mandalorian is great. Andor tells a story that is so real because it is how the average citizen is impacted by imperial occupation, imperial overreach, and it is living with fascism. And what it takes for someone to wake up and finally start fighting against it. And the finale was chef's kiss everywhere. It was so good. I just And space or is a slow burn, but it's really good. Thanks, autocorrect, for
Oh,
separating the name.
More like rigor mortis. Don't worry. Boater checked to see if I had watched it, and so because both of us haven't seen it, and it is on the short list, especially after that reaction from you of
is
it.
so good.
Um,
Dave, if you haven't watched it by January 1st, I'm throwing a burlap sack over your head and I'm kidnapping you and we're watching it.
no, that's fair. That's fair. If I haven't,
I had to do that last year for Dune. I'll do it again this year for Andor. Of course, so that was in the Wednesday time slot releasing onto Disney Plus. But there is no reprieve because this week the TV show for Willow starts coming out on Wednesday. And I'm kind of excited for that. Not with the same level of like that I happen for some of these other things. I feel like burlap sack should happen anyway. It might. Um, if not Andor, something else. So if you watched Willow, which originally came out in 1986, I want to say, starring Warwick Davis, Val Kilmer, a few others. Like, it's interesting. I watched it with Steph a few years ago because I think Ron Howard directed that.
yes, Steve,
Um,
could you research that for us?
I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure that he ended up being the one to direct Solo after the previous directors had been kind of kicked to the curb. So when we found that out, I decided to watch that with Steph, and it surprisingly held up. I mean, yeah, there's some stop motion effects that visually don't, but as far as like storyline and stuff goes, it's not one of those, ooh, this is better left in my nostalgia filter. No, it held up to modern storytelling. And with Warwick Davis coming back, with some uh, names that, oh gosh, I keep forgetting her name, but the person who played the starting as the antagonist in Solo, she's really cool. She is in the series. Yeah, I'm excited for Willow coming out. New Year's Eve at Boater is where we'll watch it. Yes, show up nice and early, and we're just gonna watch Andor, and like time it so that at I'm not gonna say how we'll time what happens at midnight, but I know exactly what it's gonna be. No, that would be kind of impossible to time down to the second. If we do anything, it'd be watch A New Hope so that the Death Star explodes at midnight. But still. Um, okay, cool. Ron Howard is executive producer on the TV series now as well. Yes. Awesome. Very cool.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Steve. So yeah, I'm excited for Willow on Disney Plus, which starts tomorrow. Although I do want to rewatch the movie first. I'm a little behind, so we'll do that. I don't think I'm gonna have to dodge spoilers on social media like I had to with Star Wars. So
Unless they do big things, yeah, I don't think people are going to be like, "Oh my God, look at this!"
But also,
Like,
so they're dropping the first 2 episodes, and if something big does happen, I know
Ooh.
then I'll have to get on top of it. Yep. Well, Disney kind of does that. Like with Andor, they dropped the first 3. Obi-Wan, I think they dropped 2. So they kind of do that, is get a couple, however many they figure is going to grab you and keep you for the rest of the, in this case, 8-episode season. So tomorrow I think we'll watch the movie, and then Thursday we'll get to those episodes.
Hell yeah.
So that is what we've been playing, watching, and consuming media-wise. Dave, what are we consuming like noms for foods? Because I believe the voting has ended.
The verdict has happened, and we have a tie. No, we don't have a tie 2 weeks in a row. That would be awful.
We have a counting overflow with 40%, 30%, and 31%. Thanks, Twitch. With 101% of the votes counted.
101% of your vote counts here on the Nerd Glasses, and that's because I did the math and not voter. The Snowball Citrus Cookies, if you chose it, you're getting some sweet, sweet channel points just for you.
Erin Kellyman, that's her name. Thank you, Demon Dragon.
So I saw these.
Ooh. Speaking of dodging spoilers, I had to unfollow Nerdist on Instagram when they announced the date that their moratorium on Andor spoilers would end. I like that they at least announced that kind of thing. I happen to follow. Well, no, it doesn't matter if I follow Star Wars on Facebook. It's gonna show up as a sponsored post anyway and be like, that moment when this thing happened, 2.5 days after the episode first drops. Okay, so citrus snowball cookies.
Yeah, so I was wandering around, minding my biz, and
There's no one around and your phone was dead. Out of the corner of your eye, you spotted it. Snowball citrus cookies.
people trying to get sales. Again, I'm generally convinced that there are people who literally live like just in the mountains. They hang upside down in the caves, and that the first time they hear just the beginning opening to and they suddenly like what? And they're like sales, and they come down from the mountains and they wander through public and have no idea what's going on. They don't know what store. They have coupons for stores that don't exist anymore. Pretty sure this weekend I saw someone with a Caldor's coupon book. I'm convinced these people just exist purely to come to stores to hassle people with name tags. Because they fervently believe that they're for us, people wearing them, and not for them. But I saw these in the aisle, and I saw the word snowball, and I thought, ha, snowballs. And I saw the word citrus, and I thought, ha, you don't eat the yellow snow. You don't eat the yellow snow. You don't eat the yellow snow, unless you're a host on Nerd Glasses, in which case, we're eating the citrus flavored snow.
If it's actually yellow colored.
It is not. It is,
Okay,
however,
good.
absolutely baked in cinnamon sugar. Steve, would you like one? I'm
not generally a fan of citrus, but we'll give this a shot.
I have a feeling I'm going to be less of a fan of yellow snow than I was before. By the way, in the future, if you are shopping and you see these, make sure to tag Insane
lemony.
Games TV in the picture of it and say, oh my God, they have yellow snow at this area or at this store or things like that. Or
and then
put
we'll be retweeting it, and everyone will wonder, what?
let's all make this a good in-joke for us and just generally displeasingly confusing for others.
If we make it popular enough on Twitter, we can make Elon Musk mad about it.
Mmm. Mmm.
That sugar's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
I like it. That was good.
It's fine.
This
They're
is-
not superlative for me, but I didn't dislike them as much as I thought I would.
This is the best tasting yellow snow I've ever had.
Are you a connoisseur of such?
What? I was certainly not a nerd growing up and didn't get force-fed a lot of things by people that were way bigger than me.
That time we got a lawsuit from Pepperidge Farm, and it's like, I don't even. No, we didn't say anything about your cookies being like yellow snow, and they just go, Pepperidge Farm remembers, and cut to the evidence.
Pepperidge Farm remembers the time, and it's just a picture of of me just in an aisle shoving cookies in my mouth. Like, damn it! I made my own. I mean, I did a lot of camping growing up. Not a lot of eating snow while you're camping, but you know what you can eat and you can get online now for the first time? Local heroes, local legendary rest stops and trips and things like that. Stewart's, as of Cyber Monday, now have an online store where you can get Stewart's coffee K-Cups, Stewart's coffee grounds, as well as a Stewart's baby onesie and a bejeweled tumbler that says Stewart's on it, and I kind of want one just because. And I want to
Okay.
bring that Stewart's tumbler to Dunkin' Donuts and make them fill it.
Interesting. Like, when I think of Stewart's, I don't think of coffee. Part of that is that I don't drink coffee. But also, when I think of Stewart's, I think of, like, dairy products, which are, a lot harder to ship.
But they just recently added the store.
That's
It
cool.
almost when I first saw the story, by the way, I saved it because I was like, this is going to turn out to be a joke, is what this is going to be. But then like all of our local news outlets posted about it, and I was like, okay, fool me once, shame on me. Fool everybody in the area. You either have to do it now, or you have to do a big redaction. Either case, story made.
Story made, yeah, 100%. Speaking of redactions, I got this from thegamer.com. They reported that last week a pricing error on the Swedish Xbox marketplace
Uh-oh.
made Forza Horizon 4, Forza Horizon 5, and the DLC available for the equivalent of 61 pence. That is, after the exchange rate, less than $1.
Good God!
Now, this was immediately fixed, maybe an hour or 2 hours later, but that was a lot of people who had seen tweets and stuff like that that got a copy of the game digitally.
If that were to happen, you text your friends, "Hey, let's play this game together. It's $1."
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. So they reversed it. They fixed it and whatever. What I want to discuss with you is that about a week later, they started reversing those transactions. Here's your 61 pence back, and you no longer own those copies of those games.
hmm.
How do you feel about that?
I will say I have a skewed perspective only because I have purchased Scott Pilgrim versus the World on several consoles, and it's become moot on me
Mhm.
several times, and I've paid for it over and over again. I don't get a refund there. Um, and Overwatch getting shut down. Didn't get a refund on that. All these things. So for my money, in my perspective, if I have a game and I really like it and I want to play it, and then I get told by the people, "Hey, this was an error. You can't have this." If they refund it, I mean, foul, but no harm done.
Interesting.
Like,
I disagree. So the gamer also brought that up, while also in the same breath talking about how Overwatch is taken down and they no longer got that $40 value that they got from having been able to buy that, and a few other ones as well. And I think that it's disingenuous, personally, to talk about how you can't play Overwatch 1 anymore. You can't play this other live service game. You can't play this multiplayer game because the servers are down now. You can't play Titanfall 1
yeah,
anymore. I think it's different when you buy a game and it's supported for a time, but then it reaches an end of life, an end of service
yeah,
date. I think that that's one thing. I think it's another thing when you buy something and then a week later they say, no, you didn't buy that. You didn't buy that. We're undoing that transaction. I feel that that's different. Yes, it was because of a pricing error on Microsoft's part. But as big as Microsoft are, and we know they have the money to throw around to the tune of 90 whatever or 60 billion, lots. Um, I should really know these numbers. We know they have the money to throw around. They probably should have just swallowed that, because now this, in my opinion, makes them look bad. Um,
oh, it certainly makes them look
because
bad.
because
Yes.
like it's if you go into like a GameStop and something has a price tag on it for 59 cents rather than 59.99 for a new copy of a game. You bring it up to the register, and chances are the person there is going to be like, this is 59 cents. I'm sorry, I can't sell this. Transaction hasn't gone through. But if you buy it, the transaction goes through and everything, that is your physical copy of the game. That
Yeah,
transaction has gone through, that money has exchanged hands. They can't then knock on your door a week later and then say, I'm sorry, here's your 59 cents plus tax back. Give me
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
copy of the game."
And
And I
that's why I
feel
buy physical media. That's also exactly how I got my PlayStation camera, by the way. They mispriced them, and in the store, and I went, "Ah!" And I ran up to the counter with it, and I was like, "I would like this PlayStation camera, please."
yeah. So I feel that it's one thing if something hits end of life, end of service, and that sucks, and it's right to mourn those games, and it's right to get upset when something hits its end of service early. It's I think that this is kind of
It's
another
no
thing.
a fair assertion to say comparing end of services and things like that. But I also like then people quit bitching that Overwatch is done. You weren't playing it anyway, so don't even. My $40. You didn't put that game in for 7 months. You weren't gonna play it again. But it goes over that whole idea of, huh. This is one of those many reasons I like to buy physical media and not digital media, because
Yep.
for them to come to my house and take it from me is one thing. For them to poof it off of an e-store where it doesn't physically
Yeah.
exist per se is very much doable and in their wheelhouse. Oh, oh, hmm.
Sony's over there like, we would never do that. Look, this kind of thing makes Microsoft like monopoly. We should look at them and not at the fact that we do that kind of thing all the time and take games down. And stop bringing up PT already. It's not like you paid for it.
It's shitty on them to have taken it back. I still just appreciate the fact that they were like, yep, here's your money back. This was an error. It's shitty of them, but they refunded the people. Like, you gotta...
That's actually something if we actually... we should have brought out Bendy. We were literally doing Bendy's Advocate, which is an idea that we talked about 3 years ago, is when Nerd Glasses started. 3 years ago, the week after Thanksgiving, one of the concepts that we talked about as an idea was having something as a debate and taking a little guy from... Hold on. Shoulder doesn't work. From Bendy and the Ink Machine, this little devil character, and playing Bendy's Advocate with these kind of these differences of views that we're able to talk about.
Yeah.
And we don't end up having these sort of disagreements that often. I like it when we do, when we're able to have these different sides of discussion, but it's neat that Bendy still lives on our set, going back to, again, Dave, good job on 3 years. Somehow we're still here.
in a celebration of the fact that this stream has been going on for 3 years, I did want to get something for the folks on the program. It's a small token after all the weeks of episodes and programs and stories. So I have here 3 of these 4-color multi-click pens. If you don't know, I literally always have one of these on me. It's a force of habit. It's a thing I do now. But I figured it's a really good memento of the fact that we do news every week, and you never know where it's going to come up, and you're never going to know where you're going to need. And the fact that, I don't think we're ever going to run out of steam on a program like this because of people like you, because of our friendship, because of Steve, and because of the person who will be getting the other pen, which is Dan, who initially got myself and Boder together to do this program. And in the intro video, you see the moment of Boder and I looking off frame across the bottom of the camera. And it's because Dan, the owner of Insane Games TV, the owner of Insane Games, proprietor of Danny NASCAR, and the chief himself of content creation here on the network, would crawl hands and knees from the computer across to make sure that we would start, like, literally action in. Here we are on camera. We're starting the discussion. We're doing it. This and that and the other. And we decided to spite that by watching him crawl on his hands and knees every week.
Episode. We'd watch him go by, it'd be awkward, there'd be silence, and then hey, Dave. Yeah, because the setup was, you would be looking down the center. For those of you that weren't with us when it got started, it was centered at the table here. I was on that side. Somehow we switched sides of the camera. I was on that side, Dave was on this side, and also right here was the computer, so that it wouldn't be Dave there at the computer doing everything and then kind of looping on into screen. Dan was like, I'll do that, and then you guys can just roll straight into it. And I don't know if it was week 1 or week 2, but very early on we were like, we should just watch him as he awkwardly crawls out, trying not to be seen. And for the most part, he did a good job of not being seen, but we called attention to it anyway.
Yeah, we call attention to the fact too. So this one's for Dan, and this one is for Steve. Since Steve has become a integral part of our weekly program, both getting our scenes ready, getting these trailers cut for us, making sure that we're starting in a timely manner and or starting at all when Boder and I get into banter back and forth. So Steve, this one's for you.
Thank you very much, Dave. Appreciate it. And the first thing I drew with them were hearts, and those are for you.
Oh yeah.
So we were in the original space just under a year, right? Because we were getting into here by November of 2020.
Oh, really? You gonna? All right, fine.
Because like we were in that studio for, it was during the start of lockdown, just over half a year, I would say, half a year of broadcast we were in.
By the way, that program did not have to stop because we were literally seated the exact distance you would need to be. Now, if we leaned into our notes and things like that, we were no longer within compliance.
I'm glad you played it safe.
But I really appreciated the fact that we didn't have to move the set an inch. Like, once we were back together in the studio.
Yep.
I do also think the fact that you and I turned what were originally precautions taken. I will say that actually vehemently helped me throughout working throughout the shutdown.
Yeah.
Because if we could sit for 60 minutes and not touch my face, I literally didn't throughout the entirety of the pandemic. And I won't lie, it wasn't until like a couple of weeks ago that I started rubbing on my eyes. It feels glorious, and I missed it. I do. I just miss jamming my eyes and going, when they're itchy, because I used to either dab or I would just angrily eye it out and be like, "Don't itch, damn you!" Like,
Deb?
oh yes, oh yes.
What was your favorite memory of the original location?
The many, 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 many occasions that because we were in the studio and the studio was literally right behind the counter, the store was open and customers were coming in and out, and we would be having this discussion live with you guys on Twitch, as well as sound bites from so many people walking past. And I really enjoyed that live audience interaction we got from people who would pick up on stories we were talking about. And I know there was one of the Bendy's advocate things we were talking back and forth, and someone literally just stood there the entire time watching us. So that one, if I can answer with a two-parter also, I do miss the one of the former employees at Insane Games, Logan, used to suggest stories, and there was a particular thing that man loved theme parks. And he loved Nintendo Land, and so he would always every week give me more Nintendo Land updates, and he would be so damn jazzed every week we would talk about it. And I just remember him being so excited about that. So the live customers across the counter and Logan's interactions. Boater, what do you miss?
Well, Demon Dragon misses this.
Oh God! Be gone, foul demons!
I think my favorite individual moment was a point where I think I was yelling about Epic versus Apple because it was a big thing, and someone said something that just very much bothered me so much, and I forget what it is. I know it's a clipped highlight somewhere. I think it was in the recap. And I got up and I was yelling from off camera, and there was an empty cardboard standee display that I just threw across the store. I was just so angry. I just needed to throw something. I'm like, good, there's no product on this. Yeah. Yelling from off camera. The headsets are nice, but I have a lot of fun with positional audio with a microphone, including being able to get away from it and just yell as loud as I can. And that was just a specific moment where I just got upset and I couldn't intelligibly speak, and I just left and yelled and threw something and came back.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was about Epic versus Apple, but I'm not positive off the top of my head.
It probably was. It really probably was.
It was, yeah. It was the big thing, don't you know? I think it was probably when you announced, when you told us about the Coalition for App Fairness at first.
I believe it was. I really do.
Which, by the way, the interesting thing about people who think that they're smart is that when they discover new knowledge, they assume that it's been hidden from everybody and that it's a conspiracy, rather than just something that they learn.
That sounds like the Coalition.
And this week, Elon Musk learned about Apple and Google taking their 30% cut of profits for stuff sold in an app. Like the $8 Twitter Blue.
3 years after the whole, we, as the cutting edge, joined forces with the Coalition of App Fairness and our little brother in Epic Games to call out Apple's predatory proprietary practices, as well as
Epic lost that lawsuit, by the way. Good.
as well as Google. They did that too, but they kind of were less ancillary in the things. But yes, they certainly were defeated, and we hope
now
they
Elon
rally.
Musk 3 years later is like, did you guys know about this? This is a conspiracy. The secret tax that they're taking. Did you know? Yeah, dude. You don't contain the sum of all human general knowledge. the thing about being a human being is that you have the opportunity to learn every day, and you should be humbled by that.
I'm just gonna say it. I think I know where conspiracy baseball has been. In that case, if yeah, that's right, getting pitched off the back of Elon Musk's head.
Yeah, and on his bedside table, which has a flintlock, a replica Deus Ex pistol, and 4 Diet Cokes.
Oh,
He posted a picture of his bedside table, and that's what was on it. And people are like, that is divorced dad energy. Wow.
Elon Musk uses Internet Explorer confirmed.
God.
Cancel us if you want, Elon. It's okay. We'll find somewhere else.
Oh. Okay, Dave, what
Oh,
else have you got?
didn't Steve? Didn't that last week we were talking about Mastodon and that other platform, and I remember Boder saying like, "I'm not getting on that one platform that's not by 2 people." Didn't that one just get canceled or something?
There were some seedy tweets from one of the Hive founders.
So
and
it seems like
it's
Hive
just
is
gone.
just Kaputski. Well, Hive is canceled, as many things are.
Oh,
when,
okay.
when
It's still there, but it's now brought to light of like, those are some that you probably don't want to go to. Meanwhile, Post is another one that has been cropping up as a potential alternative, but that one, the terms of use include like a bunch of things that you can't hate on people for, including quote net worth. In other words, oh, do you not want us making fun of Daddy Billionaire over here? Like, and there's just like some other stuff that it's like, oh, well, that's dead before it got started too.
Speaking of which, speaking of making fun of billionaires, you know who we haven't kicked around this week, and we really should just call him in to do his little dance for us?
Dance Monkey.
What else can I help you with?
Ah, feels so good just to be able to have you come in on Beck and Call there, Barbarino.
And actually, Bobby, if you could, give us an update on how Microsoft is going with that merger with you. Actually, it seems like he hung up. Dave, can you give us that instead?
Do you want to know how the Activision merger is going with that EU investigation that ends in a couple of weeks, by the way?
Sure.
Leaks are coming out of it because
Like the
apparently
vegetables?
there have been a lot of talks between the EU and Microsoft because the EU isn't trying to outright say, no, this isn't good. They're trying to say, hey, here are the problems we're discovering, and if you fix them, we won't have an issue with this merger. So, the regulators are starting to meet with Microsoft and the management, and Microsoft is already starting to make concessions to the EU and with the merger. Now, one of the highest contention ones, the most publicly talked about concession that will need to be met because it's in people's eyes and it is one of the biggest game franchises that's being at stake here, is Call of Duty. And no matter what news outlet you get from or things like that, the round facts and figures is that Microsoft in some way is giving, has offered, or is completed an offer to Sony for a 10-year, and everywhere it's 10 years.
A 10-year commitment to
that
keep
Call of Duty will be on Microsoft and Sony consoles. In talking about this,
it's before you move on, like Microsoft has always said that Call of Duty would be like that they have no particular plans to do so, but it's nice to get that kind of written commitment out of them.
Yes, and at the same point, is Call of Duty not being cross-platform going to affect your hosts here at Nerd Glasses? Certainly not, but it's a big franchise. By the way, January is when the EU regulators have their time's up and you have to report on what you have. And January, toward the end of January, is when these concessions are going to be publicly released as to what Microsoft is doing to make waves. So look forward to that. But one of the documents that was in the EU report that got leaked was reports from Sony about how they feel this will affect them.
Yeah.
And they absolutely threw Battlefield under the bus.
For those not as familiar with it, Battlefield is probably the biggest competitor to Call of Duty. It is done by EA, so it is third party, it is multi-platform, etc.
And it's a first-person war type shooter.
War shooter, yeah. If Call of Duty was pulled off of PlayStation, Battlefield would be the big one left over.
So
and Sony was like, "Yeah, no, that's not gonna cut it for us, guys."
huge swaths of quotes are from it. But they basically threw EA and Battlefield under the bus, and the most heinous burn that came was like, to compare Battlefield and Call of Duty. Battlefield, it can't keep up. And it was like, oh my God, Battlefield, the teams over here at EA are working around the clock to fix the newest Battlefield game, and I can't imagine that felt very good to wake up and find out that a third of your audience base and the company that runs it literally goes, they're small potatoes.
Yeah, I mean, like, Sony is exaggerating here to try to get. They're playing the game very well.
They are.
Here's the thing.
Like a fiddle. Like
if this goes through, if the merger of Microsoft and Activision Blizzard goes through, it would make Microsoft the third largest publisher in gaming. Do you know who the second is?
Tencent?
Nintendo. Do you know who? No, actually, no. You're right. I think it is Tencent. I'm sorry, my bad.
No, that's okay.
Do you know who the first is?
It's Nintendo.
It's Sony.
Glass houses, pal. Glass houses.
Yeah.
You better make sure you don't take lunch with anybody too big.
Sony's up there, king of the hill, being like, knock him down a peg.
Oh God, that's so funny.
Feel free to fact check me on that. That I'm remembering off the top of my head, but yeah, I think you're right. It's
still
Tencent and Sony.
Sony, but again, Sony's
is
somewhere
trying to play
up
like
here.
they're the little guy, and even if they're not like top 3, they are still really up there.
Yeah,
they've been doing more mergers. They haven't spent the same money this year that Microsoft has, but they've been doing a lot more individual mergers.
Can we
acquisitions.
just acknowledge the fact that, you know what, I want to say something, a hot mic moment, if you will. I actually kind of hope that Call of Duty becomes an exclusive to one or the other.
I think it would help the Battlefield franchise a lot.
Yes.
To not have that competition.
Competition.
I think competition is good.
Yes.
But to have a vacuum open up on top there, I think would be helpful. But they would need to nail those first couple releases.
Yes.
Otherwise, someone's going to be like, I'm just going to dust off Medal of Honor over here,
PUBG.
and we'll have a go with that. Yeah.
I really do kind of hope, because, and I'm going to use an example of WWE with wrestling. They were literally it. They were the top. This was what it was. A couple of the wrestling companies, and then AEW came along, and now every week you have 2 really good wrestling programs, because now they're competing with each other. They're competing for ratings, all these things. And I feel like Sony and Microsoft, because everything is available. Timed exclusives are great, and I do love them, especially because I am beholden and have been at the benefit of them. But man, would it be good for competition to have a little bit of definitive line drawn. Pepsi, Coke,
Yep.
all that.
I do want to include this correction that we got from Dude Icarus. And actually, I did hear about this now that you say something about it. The stuff that like people were saying bad, that people that were associated with Hive, that is not Hive Social. What we were talking about as an alternative to Twitter is Hive Social. It is totally different. It hasn't had any sort of bad smear or whatever on it. But Hive, not Hive Social, is a very Web3 program, aka NFT, crypto, all that environment. Yeah. And I believe has like some of the founders have come out, and there's been a lot of far right talking points and stuff, like just bad stuff. Hive Social has nothing to do with any of that. It just has an unfortunate name when it comes to that. And again, I've talked about the downsides that I personally felt about it last week. Mastodon is growing. It's going through some growing pains. So Mastodon Social is the main instance, and some smaller instances are blocking it because it is too big to be moderated, and some of the user base is getting toxic. So what they can do is just like block that instance until it gets itself into shape. Again, imagine a whole bunch of Discord servers that could talk to each other. The Insane Games server, great. The Weekend Wednesday server, great. Let's say that we are associated with some other server and we can see cross posts from that, and then they get really toxic and aren't able to moderate it. We just cut them off. That's how Mastodon works. So that's getting cleaned up. It's growing. It's going through growing pains. But yeah, I've enjoyed that so far.
Before we close,
Yes.
we really appreciate that Illumination Pictures and Nintendo took the time to coordinate the fact that they released a new trailer literally a couple hours before we went live.
Mhm.
So all three of us had a chance to check it out. And if you haven't checked out the new Mario movie trailer, well, we're going to talk about it and then we're going to end the program. So, much love to you guys. But Boater, thoughts on the new Mario trailer? Oh, Steve's just going to show it.
Yep, Steve's got it. But
Perfect.
I think it looks great. Like the art style looks great. I'm still not sold on Chris Pratt. His little "let's a go." Like, come on. Like he got a giggle out of me when the Mario Kart part at the end, which I feel is something that should have been saved for the movie. They're on Rainbow Road. Like, come on.
Just DK beating the tar out of him.
I mean, it's very much this is like I don't think that I'm the target audience for this as far as like age goes. So I'm looking at a lot of this and I'm like, okay, we'll see. But like some of the stuff at the end kind of made me laugh. His little "Wahoo!" at the end when he's like, it's made not excited. It's made to sound a little sad and pathetic as like a counterpoint. It worked. And did you hear the score at the end of the trailer? The like epic, bombastic, orchestral Mario Brothers theme. If I watch this movie for anything, it's gonna be for the Toads. I would enjoy this movie in spite of Mario. But there's enough. Dave's gonna love this movie. There's enough other stuff that I think I'm still.
I
gonna have a
played
good time.
so much Mario Maker and I died so many times, and I'm really happy that Mario in the movie is also having a tough time with some of the puzzling. Like,
Yeah, I'm sure we'll go watch it. I don't think I'll love it, but I think I'll enjoy my time watching.
I didn't see this. The trailer that I saw the actual Nintendo Direct. They didn't. Oh, you know what? No, it's because I got really jazzed about this and forgot the rest of it. Okay, never mind.
It'll be interesting to see how they actually.
It's Mario Kart.
It'll be interesting to see how they Sorry, I'm seeing the like shinies on Mario and I'm just remembering like you are Mr. Gay. It'll be interesting to see how like the karting is actually like canonized into like how they do that. Like I'm interested to see that, but I almost would have rather that it just be a surprise left for the movie.
This is
But
actually
he
a
says
perfect example.
"Woohoo!" in it, so you got to show it.
This is actually part of the example of why I don't watch trailers of films I know I want to see, because I don't want to see snippets of the movie. I want to watch the whole movie and see that snippet.
Trailers
the
are
whole-
getting better about it, but they're still kind of bad at showing the best parts of the movie in the trailer. I will say, in watching some other trailer, when we watched the trailer for Inscription earlier in the program, they did a very good job of not spoiling things in that. And like I wish that Hollywood would show the same kind of discretion, and sometimes it does. A trailer comes out that does a very good job of that. Other times it's just like, oh, I think I know the plot of the movie. Though this seems a little short on like what the plot would be. Mario needs to train up to be awesome to fight Bowser. That's what we know. And you know what? That's kind of what we knew going into it. So we don't really know how it'll resolve. Also, the Toads are going to be cute, and I'm here for it.
What this did was cement the fact that Illumination and Nintendo both brought a lot of fun energy and an A game idea.
It looks super faithful. I'm gonna say that.
Yes.
It looks so faithful, like probably one of the most faithful video game adaptations into a movie that we've seen. We'll see when the movie actually comes out, but I'm gonna give it points for that alone.
Come
Now-
on, Nintendo.
Now,
You have such a bad record with movies.
like
You
I've
can do
talked
this.
about how like something doesn't need to be faithful to the game to still be a good movie and a good entry into the franchise. It doesn't need to be faithful to the game to be a good entry of the franchise. This looks like it's going to be very faithful to the game. Remains to be seen if it's going to be a good addition to the franchise. That said, I think that's our time. We gotta clear the set because I'm just gonna double check. Is there Shovelware Shack this week? Yes, there is.
We're
so
going back to the shack, baby.
Make sure you stay tuned. We're gonna go offline for 5 minutes. Got a 10-minute countdown over there. We'll make sure the countdown is actually on screen this time. And then Steve is live on the Shovelware Shack, so make sure that you're here for that. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching the Nerd Glasses podcast. Make sure you come on back here 7:45 Eastern next Tuesday as we talk about even more gaming news and topics and general bullshittery. In the meantime, I've been Boater,
I've been Dave Mann.
and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody!